guys, this is Derek from Bizobi.com. Today we're speaking with Ingrid McDowell Hardy from With Love from PDX. Ingrid,
Hi.
thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I've known of your work for a while, and I've been a huge fan of yours because you're an entrepreneur. You have hustle. You get out there and you get it done.
I try.
So I'm really excited about sitting down and talking with you today. But first, what I want to do is can you give us, for those who don't know, a background of what your business is and what do you do?
So I run With Love from Portland, and it is a local gifting company that offers locally made handcrafted products in gift baskets for busy professionals, corporations, and special occasions. I work with anyone from realtors to local customers that are looking to send something to someone special who may have lived in Portland or currently lives here. And so I get the honor of representing over 75 local businesses through my company and supporting their businesses and offering a platform for them to get exposure to new customers online.
Okay. And how long have your business been open? How long have you been doing this?
So I started in 2015, and I started as a result of a different business ending, and this was sort of a new chapter and a new opportunity for me to start my own company and continue with gifting. And I think part of the journey of being an entrepreneur is, it's challenging and so I've just learned to, I'm a solo entrepreneur, so I do this by myself, and I bring in some seasonal help when I can, and I rely on friends and family to help.
Okay. And why gifts? Why the gift giving business? Why that?
Well, I think in part there's something special about gifting when you work, or in my case, working with clients and just listening to the stories and the reasons why they want to send someone special they care about a gift. And it's just the experience and the love of locally crafted items and just, going to farmers markets and Saturday markets and just exposure to makers and kind of learning their stories and talking to them about why they started their companies. And a lot of them are, again, solo entrepreneurs, and they're crafting in their basements or commissary kitchens across the city to make their goods. And so I just really wanted to provide more exposure, but also knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And in my case, I've been able to blend being a social justice organizer with owning a business. And so I think this is kind of what I'm doing now really, I think, speaks to my nature of being very relational and kind of wanting to build a business that gives back to the community. And I feel like we're driving investment back into local small businesses as a result of With Love from PDX in Portland.
Okay. And my next question was definitely going to touch on that. It was basically your values. How does your business project the values that you hold? And speaking of that, how does that, because a lot of people, how do I put this? A lot of people, when they think of being a small business owner, they think of, oh, I'm just going to make money and I'm just going to be rich and that, period. That's it. They don't think about how they can further impact society and kind of share the values that they hold dear. So what has that been like for you to experience that?
Well, I'm in a fortunate situation where I work, in the nonprofit sector, and I have a really great boss who recognizes that my passions can lie in two different places, that I can be a really faithful, good employee at the same time I can be an entrepreneur, and I can live in those dual spaces. And I really try hard to be good at both of them, and recognize that they do bleed over into each other as a result of me, again, being a community organizer. And the values I bring to work are that, I want to work with minority-owned businesses. I want to raise them up and lift them up because I'm a woman of color running a business, and I get a lot of visibility. And in turn, I want to turn that around and do good with the folks that I support through my business. So I'm always on the lookout for raising the visibility of women-owned businesses of color. I want to celebrate the fact that products are made locally. I think I value that. I think Portland is a city that values locally made, handcrafted products. I think across the city we've seen a renaissance of that in our city and over the last 10 years. And it's being celebrated through different startups, programs, small business entrepreneurial programs that support those enterprises. And so I think that it's all reflective of the value of our city, and I'm glad that I get to represent all of these makers and that they trust me with their product.
Yes.
I often say that because they trust me to curate a gift box, and really create something that is beautiful and as a representation of their hard work. I mean, I can't really take credit for any of that. I get to take credit for putting the items in the box and making it beautiful and making it an experience when someone opens the gift box.
Yes. Yes. So in terms of helping other small businesses, and because that's, in a way, that's what you're doing. You're helping to promote them and to share their stories, their passions for what it is they make. Why is that so important for entrepreneurs to help other entrepreneurs to be successful? What is that? How does that contribute overall, in your view?
Well, I think being an entrepreneur is often a very lonely process, and I think through connecting and collaboration and networking, I think we build a stronger community for our businesses, and I think we're interdependent. We need each other, right? Like, I need to be able to purchase product from a maker to put it in my gift box, and I, at the end of the day, need resources in my local community through small business development centers or through other entities that helps provide me with capital or grants or support, and then they in turn get to turn around and tell other folks about the business as a result of supporting that.
Yes.
So I think it's very interdependent, and there's an ecology of just business and how we move through the world and how we support each other and how the capital comes back into the community. Like the local dollars they're staying here. I mean, as a result of me purchasing from local makers and these makers employing employees, so I think that in itself speaks to the value of our community and who we are and what we represent. And I don't think it's just synonymous to Portland. I think you're seeing this resurgence in a lot of communities. I mean, Brooklyn and Austin and Denver. So I think it speaks to where our values lie, and I'm excited to see it happen and excited to see where it goes as a result.
Nice. And as a small business owner and as a social justice activist, what are some areas of concern for you in terms of resources that's provided to small businesses, or the lack thereof? What have you witnessed with your own eyes? You've talked to people. What are some concerns that they have, that would help them be successful, in your view?
Well, I think when people start out, they have an idea, right? And they're super excited about it, but they don't necessarily know how to access the resources to actually activate the services that are available. And so I think a lot of it is like people start out with good ideas and then they kind of like bottom out because they're like, well, I don't have the resources for that, or I'm not a graphic designer, or I don't know how to build a website. And so I spend a lot of my time supporting local makers and just helping them think about like your packaging or how to move yourself into wholesale space, because I buy most of my products, if not all of them, wholesale from makers, and then I mark them up retail.
Yes.
And just understanding like how to make it even advantageous for me to get a product wholesale so that I can actually make some money on it, so that I can come back and keep investing in the product and keep it on my website so that it can keep selling.
Yes.
I also think, like I said, being an entrepreneur is a pretty lonely process, and just figuring out ways to connect local makers and with retail opportunities, right? So Tender Loving Empire has been great from my understanding of working with some of these local makers. Made Here PDX has been a great platform for other makers, and just connecting them to the owners of those particular stores so that they can get into those retail shops and get the exposure. I think just kind of sitting down and having a plan is important, but being connected and also access to capital is important. And lots of folks, including myself, don't want to take out loans. So I drive all the revenue from my business right back into it. And that means that maybe I don't break even for 5 or 6 years as a result of that. But I'd rather grind rather than take loans and get myself in debt.
Yes.
Right. And I think, I'd rather be in the black and be like, okay, well, I'm not making that much money, but it's my passion and I'm excited about it, rather than take on investors or VC funding and have somebody come in and tell me how to run my business.
Right.
So there's that rub, and I think, like you just kind of spoke to, there's excitement around starting a business, but I think once people really figure out that it is a hustle, it's a grind, you may not break even for 5, 6, sometimes 10 years, but you got to stay with it, you got to dig in, and you just got to do the work.
Yeah.
And you hope that it comes full circle.
Yeah. And in terms of, I hear so often when I talk to small business owners, Some of them, they have a plan. Some of them don't. I typically want to beat my head against the wall when I hear they don't have a plan. And I know it can be daunting and it can be overwhelming.
Yes.
But it's really important. So would you be able to speak a little bit more about the importance of having a plan?
Yeah. Well, this is another area where I think that my professional day job as a project director kind of integrates or kind of, flows into being a business owner, and that I'm very work plan focused.
Yes.
So I have my list of things to do for the business every week, and whether that's outreach calls to local agencies or corporations, or identifying, a way to track inventory, or setting up one-on-one meetings to just figure out what resources are available. Yes. I just think it's imperative to have a plan and to work your plan. I think if you don't set aside at least like even 2 to 5 hours a week to really focus on developing your business, you're doing your business a disservice. I mean, I know that some people have kiddos, you've got a full-time job, you're grinding during the day, and you've got the side hustle you're trying to do at 12 o'clock at night. Like, I've been there, I live and breathe it every day. Like, I get it. But unless you carve it out, you're really not going to get any traction.
Yes.
You'll spin in circles if you don't put your plan in place to really be like, these are the things I need to do. And if you only have so many hours in a day, you've got to dedicate at least, half an hour to an hour to your business. And like I said, you can have a 1-page work or business plan or a 50-page business plan. That's great, but you have to have, some strategic things that you're doing every day to build your business. And I started by cold emailing. I know it's not like you hear a lot of business professionals are like, don't email people cold, but that's how I got my business name out there. I did tabling events. I still do tabling events. I don't think I'm above tabling. I don't think I'm above driving boxes to the post office. Like, I always want to be in the day-to-day grind of my business so that I know, even as I grow, so that I have my hands on different aspects. And so, and I don't get too detached from what it is that brings me joy. Because when you move yourself out of certain roles, it's like you're managing a bunch of people, and that's not really what brings us joy. I think being in the day-to-day and the activity, seeing the growth, bringing people on, teaching them about the product so they can tell the story is really what brings me joy, at least.
Yes. And in terms of, and I can tell that you're passionate about your business, and how important is passion? Because I know from me, when I work with my businesses and I work with other business owners, they'll get to the point where I don't want to focus on this. I don't want to focus on this.
Yeah, right?
This is my passion. And I was like, well, your passion alone isn't going to pay the bills.
No, it's not. And you really have to figure out that, like, marketing may not be your jam, but like, and how are people going to know you exist if you don't spend some money doing advertising or getting your name out there? Like tabling, like I said, putting an ad maybe in a Portland Monthly magazine, or doing something around the holidays that promotes your product or whatever it is that you do. So passion is I think really, really important. I think it can drive success, but again, like you just said, it requires passion without a plan is not going to work. So if you can combine both a passion and have a plan, I think that you're setting yourself up and your business up for success.
Okay. And in terms of, I guess, lessons learned from being an entrepreneur, how has this experience helped you in life? What have you learned from it?
That failure is inevitable, and then that is okay. I think that if you fail, and I think we should talk about failure more as entrepreneurs. Yes. And I would love to talk with you more about that, because I think we don't talk about failure. Like, it is okay to fail. Like, my first 2 or 3 businesses failed, and look where it was leading me to here. It was leading me to With Love from Portland.
Yes.
So I think that, like, failure is an okay thing. I think we have to become comfortable with it. I think our communities, entrepreneurial communities, have to talk more about failure. I know people say fail fast. I don't necessarily know if you need to fail fast. I think having the experiences and the ups and downs of failure is really important. I think just kind of sitting and being uncomfortable is also important. I mean, if you don't know, sometimes the best action is just to sit still. And someone told me that once, and I was like, that's really good advice. Instead of just continuing to churn, it's like, just wait, and sometimes the answers it'll find you.
Yes.
Right? It'll find you. So I think those are lessons I've learned. And just to be authentic. Like, I know lots of people want to promote themselves, and I mean, being a self-promoter is important, but like, think about how that looks and how that's perceived.
Yes.
And just, I mean, be a promoter of other people. And I think you'll get to where you need to go if you support and champion other people too. And I think you can do that. I think you can do both.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And in terms of failure is such an important lesson. As a former training manager, one of my bosses, he was like, if you're not failing, you're not learning.
Yeah.
You're like, and that's how you learn.
And that's very sage advice.
Yes. And so it's one of those things, and like I've had multiple businesses and they weren't successful. And I've had some that were, but it's what you do with that knowledge gained from the failure, because none of it doesn't stay in a silo. It can be used in other aspects, in other areas. And that's one of the things that I wish more people understood. I almost have this belief that I wish everybody at least opened a business once.
Yeah, just to have the experience of just the startup process and just understanding how you find resources, and you really stretch yourself. When you stretch yourself when you're an entrepreneur, like you said, just like even if it's like printing t-shirts or making postcards or just something that's small, that maybe you can keep it small, but just teach yourself those skills. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes. And so in terms of stretching your skills, heard from a little birdie that you're expanding. Like
I'm trying.
You're trying.
We're trying. I am trying to stretch myself to a new space. In Reno, Nevada. That's where I'm from. Born and raised in Nevada. Grew up and went to high school and college in Reno. I am working on expanding with Love from Portland to a new city, and I did it as a result of wanting to stretch myself because I love Portland, but I also recognize that there's limited capacity for me to grow, because there are alternative brands here that do similar gifting, and so I just wanted to try a new city and see if it would give me an opportunity to grow. There's nothing like what I do in Reno, and Reno's been tagged a little Portland, so as in the biggest little city in the world. So it's cute little moniker they've given the city of Reno. So I thought, why not? Like, try it. My mom is still there. She's semi-retired, and I thought, it would be nice to go home and do something cool with my mom.
Yes. And in terms of expanding, how important is that in terms of, and it might not be for everybody, but in terms of for you, I know it's stretching yourself, you're learning more, and you get to go in and conquer new markets, but what's the importance of that in terms of being a business owner?
Well, I think that at the end of the day, there's a market advantage to going into new cities and trying to create something new there to see if it actually works and if you can scale it. And I think it teaches you a lot about, building your brand, building a team, hiring quality staff that can help support your vision.
Yes.
And also just doing something that the city can get behind. I think one thing I love about Portland is people see my logo, they see the brand, and I get emails at least once a week where makers have been told by someone on Instagram or Facebook, yeah, you should connect with her because she seems to be someone that supports local businesses and is passionate about it. And I think that, like, as I move into new markets, and Reno's just one city that I want to go to, but there are 50 states and or 49 or 48 excluding the two I'm in, but that I would love to be in. I would love to see a With Love from X, Y, and Z all over the country. I think there's a need for local gifting services. I think there's a need for a business that's similar to what we're doing here in Portland. I think it'll look different in each city, just depending upon what people need and want.
Right.
But I think it's about trying to experiment and figure it out.
Okay. And that's really important, the experimenting part, because that's where a lot of the fun is had. Because you get to, it's like, as a business owner, you're like, oh, I don't get to play, but I don't get to play with this. Right? I get to see what I can do. How do you keep the fun in your job? Like, how do you keep that going?
Forging. I'm always on the hunt for new products. That's how I keep the energy. I'm always looking to connect with people and celebrate people's successes and be part of the community and go to events and just being part of something and seeing that it's bigger than me, right? And just celebrating people's energy, celebrating their success is so important, And like I said, without makers, I wouldn't have a business. So for me, like, I stand behind them and want to lift them up because without them, I wouldn't have a business. And so I think that that's important. Just celebrating, having a good time, enjoying your success while you can, while it's continuing to grow. And just being thoughtful and also giving back to your community, bringing young people in to do, internships, just figuring out really how to be a social enterprise that really gives back to the community.
Yes. So in terms of, in final words, are there anything that you wish people knew about small business owners, entrepreneurs? Like, guys, we only make it look easy. It's not as,
we're honestly a scrappy bunch. Like we're super scrappy. I think, people piecemeal stuff from nothing. I mean, you hear the rags to riches stories of people who started in their garage or their parents' basement, or started cutting off a pair of pantyhose and decided to make Spanx. I mean, there's so many inspirational stories. And I just think that more of those stories need to be told. And I'm glad I get to sit down with you and tell my story, but it's nice to tell those stories and put it out in the community and put it out on the internet so people can draw inspiration, because who knows who it'll impact. There's someone sitting at home that has an idea, has been sitting on it for a while, and who knows, it could change the world.
Yes.
And you just never know.
Yes.
So I just think this is inspiration to me, and I'm just excited to continue to do what I do and hope people will continue to appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, for people who want to follow up on you and follow up on the work that you do, where can they go to get more information?
They can go to withlovefrompdx.com. The same handle is on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome. Well, guys, this is Bizobi, and today we were speaking with Inger. Inger, thanks you
for having
so
me.
much.